What's going on, world? It's your boy Gemini Brown here, back with another episode of Nalo Kicking Knowledge. Today is June 29th, 2015. It's a Monday. Mercury is direct. You know how good that feels? Nah, y'all, but this week is a really good, it's going to be a really good week as far as like planetary energy, man. Got a full moon coming up in Capricorn, which is like really that fuel that we need. If you've been on your grind, then you're meeting your goals or going towards your goals with great determination and structure and discipline. Alright? The sign of Leo is popping right now. Alright? We got Venus retrograde in there and Jupiter is on his way. Alright? Well, I should say that because some of y'all probably think Jupiter's been in Leo. But anywho, that's a talk for another day. But this episode is the start of a new series, and that is the Midheaven series. Alright? So this episode, I'm not gonna go into Midheaven and a sign. I'm rather just gonna talk about the Midheaven and what I want you guys to look at to understand it. So if you don't know, the Midheaven is, I like to consider the bridge between the 9th and the 10th house. Alright? And like I said, most people think it's actually the 10th house, but it's like right before the 10th house, because your Midheaven can be different than the sign ruling your 10th house. Alright? And that can be very, very key. So first thing I want you to do is to take into account the 9th house. Alright? Look at the 9th house. I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. If you don't know, the Midheaven, I didn't even fully explain it. You don't know, the Midheaven is basically an indicator of your career. It basically lets you know what your position in the world should be. Socially, but really work-wise and all that, alright? So, the reason we're taking into account the 9th house, because the 9th house is the house of higher learning, religion. It's a dharmic house, alright? And in that house, that's where we are transformed. We've transformed already because we left the 8th house. Now we're approaching the real world, all right? And then, so basically, looking at the 9th house, we learn a particular philosophy, religion, career. We gain our career. 9th house represents, you could say, like your bachelor's degree and your PhD, stuff like that, all right? So first, I want you to look at I'm going to use myself as an example, okay? Because I think things for me are working out how they're supposed to go. And I want the same for you guys. Alright, so we're first looking at the 9th house. For me, my 9th house is in Taurus. And it is ruled by Venus, okay? So, we can associate from that we know that Venus deals with entertainment, music, poetry, all the fashion, all that good stuff. The beauty and art. Okay? So, with that, we could say that since my 9th house is in Taurus, I will value things related to that planet. Value the things I learn related towards Venus. More specifically, Venus, and let's say Taurus. So, well, that's the value part. I'm going to value those things, okay? And I'm going to value them in a practical way. I'm going to try to maybe, go about using that in a practical way, right? So, we want to look at where Venus is, okay? Because Venus is ruling the 9th house, and Venus is actually throwing influence on the 9th house, controlling the foundation of it, right? So, my Venus is in the 12th house. Now, we would say I value, the 12th house represents spirituality, imagination, isolation, weird stuff, taboo, all that good stuff. All right, foreign cultures and stuff like that. So we could say that the things that my higher learning, I value things related to foreign cultures, imagination. Okay, these are all tools that I have, and we're combining that. That's how Venus is affecting the 9th house. So I've left the 9th house. I'm feeling all good. Then we get to the Midheaven, right? Now look at the Midheaven as, like I said, it's that bridge. Let's call it the waiting room before we get in the 10th house. All right, it's the waiting room before we get in the 10th house. And in this room, it's basically indicators giving you an idea of how to apply what you've learned in the 9th house. How to apply that in the best way for yourself. All right? So, my Midheaven is in Gemini. Who rules Gemini? Mercury. What does Mercury represent? Communication. Okay? Media. Well, communication of all kind. Media, speaking, written, writing, all of that. All right? So, we've already seen that the things that I've learned, I've been influenced in a Venusian way. So, let's say I've specialized in entertainment, creativity, raw creativity, music, and all of that. These are in my skill sets. I have the capacity for that. That's what I've studied. All right. Then the Midheaven is saying you should apply your interests in music, art, fashion in a Gemini kind of way. Meaning that you should communicate a message about that through it. Communicate a message. That would be the best indicator for you. Also, take into account what the sign, the nature of the sign, the energy of the sign, because that's going to encompass how you feel, how you're going to want to feel in your career or out there in social settings. So, with Gemini, that's like, man, this person is going to want to be friendly, is going to want to be social. They're going to want to be communicating in their career. You see, it's a huge indication. Gemini is a huge indication, all right? I'll give you a couple more examples. Now, let's say my Midheaven was in Cancer, right? Then we would have to think what Cancer represents. And that's very much so the emotions, the home, nurturing others. Okay, so let's keep in mind 9th house and Taurus, Venus, and all of that. So I would apply that Venusian skills, those Venusian skills, in a Cancer kind of way. That's how I want to feel. I want to be emotionally connected to my career. I want to be able to nurture people through my career. Leo, I'll want to be appreciated in my career. I'll need to express my creativity in the career. I want to lead others in my career. Very simple, right? So then we go to the 10th house, all right? The 10th house is actually, that is the domain that we've arrived. Okay? So these are your options. This is the work environment. Now, what to do? So the Midheaven is really letting you know, okay, the best, what suits you, the type of personality or role you should assume out there in the real world. So, let's see. For myself, I have the Sun and Mercury in the 10th house. Two very good planets to have there. Alright? Not Mercury's in his home sign. So now I'm already, you know, in the ballpark of what I want to do. Sun lets me know now not everyone has planets in their 10th house. That's good. You don't need planets in your 10th house. To remember, 10th house are just gonna bring planets in that house are just gonna influence it in a certain kind of way. Right now you just got if there's no planets there, you just have the Lord who's influencing it. Alright? So then you look at your 10th house and you see who's ruling that. And for me, it's Mercury, and Mercury's sitting in there. So that's a very good position. Whenever a planet is sitting in their own house, in their own sign, okay, the house is good. They're defending the house. They're still open to aspects and shit like that, but for the most part, the condition of the house won't disintegrate because that planet is there. So to some aspect, they're defending that house. Now, here's the second part. Let me just review real quick. Let's just review. Remember, we're first going to look at the 9th house. What sign is that? What is associated with this sign? All right, because we're thinking in the career sense. Like, what are some Mercurian careers? What are some Jupiterian careers? Things like that. This is how you need to think, right? Then we go to the Midheaven, and that is saying this is what's gonna best suit you. Combine what you learned in the 9th house with this sign to feel good. All right, and then the 10th house is actually the reality of what situations are gonna come to you and how what opportunities you'll have. So it's basically just utilizing those skills that you've learned in the 9th house, okay, with the characteristics, and that'll match up. Last part is that I want you to also look at the planets with the 2 highest degrees in your chart. Alright? Because the planet with the highest degree in your chart, that is very much so the lesson, the huge lesson that you're learning. The lesson for this lifetime, this incarnation, is tied into that planet. So, you know, if Sun is the highest degree, it's like we want you to realize your individuality and let it shine, but control your ego. Have little to no ego with status. Be a king that is more, I guess, spiritually motivated than self-motivated. If moon is, then obviously we know that's having to deal with emotions, and very much so the mental aspect. So just think about it. What are the 2 highest planets in my highest degrees? What planets have the 2 highest degrees in my chart? What do they signify? What sign are they in? How are they performing? Alright? I get it can be, because this is why people get readings, because it's very overwhelming. But ultimately, I always say you don't need a reading. You just need to sit there and be real with yourself and understand what's going to make you happy and what can best utilize your own skills. Alright? So, I hope you guys enjoyed the first episode of this Midheaven series. Tomorrow, I'm going to be back. And I'm actually going to start with Pisces, because a good friend of mine suggested that I do this series in her Midheavens and Pisces. So I'm going to start off with Pisces. Alright? So I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.